racist in the pulpit. And I know for a fact, Jimmy Swagger, when black people started coming to his church, he had a big conference where he wanted to get all the black pastors into a room and to figure out how can they keep that black uh, congregation in that black churches, because he didn't want them in Swagger's ministry. But he said, what can I do to help y'all to keep y'all black people in your black churches? So those guys, they get up there with Bible, so they're the biggest hypocrites going. So I don't have nothing good to say about any of them.
Oh, you do have a point, though. You do have a point. Um, yeah. I'll leave it at that. You definitely have a point. But what else are we, when we're talking about things like that, what else do we see? Because the church is supposed to be the arbiter of what's good and what's not good, but the church as a body, and I'm not saying, not every church, but I'm saying the church as a body is sick, is diseased, is rotting from the inside. And that's the only things I can think about, because what else can we say when all this stuff is going on and the church still endorses him? What do you think, Miss Kim?
What was the question?
Saying, with all, the church is rotten from the inside, the body, there's sickness in the body. And knowing this, and that they're saying they're following their Bibles, and they're following the word, but their actions, they're still supporting this guy. Why do you think that is?
When you saying, are you saying select churches are following him or all
No,
churches?
not all churches, select churches.
Oh, okay. I don't know because the churches I know I follow or take part in do not partake in what he does. So I really don't know how to answer that.
Because I
About the
mean,
churches that do follow him and partake in what he does. Because I just don't mix church with him. I don't know how to answer that. I just don't. I mean, I guess when I'm focused on the word, I'm focused on the word. I'm not into politics, if I can say that.
right. No, I got you. I definitely got you.
I think the most outspoken supporters of him in the churches are primarily Caucasian led churches that have congregations that they want to keep as white as possible. And then for those black churches, those are just people who are just, I don't know what word to describe them, but primarily the rot in most of those churches are from pastors who preach prosperity ministry, and it's all about cars and money and how much you can contribute and how much my salary is, how many jets can I have, and it's all about prosperity, not in saving souls. And in those same churches, there are people who are on welfare who give their last in tithing, and those same people, when they come upon hard times, they can't turn around and go back to that church and ask for any help. The church ought to be able to provide food to pay some of the critical utility bills when those members who are faithful contributors to those churches fall on hard times, because we all fall on hard times. We have no control over that.
Now I do agree with that, Big Al, which the the church, I'm still a member of my church back home in Georgia, and we do help those that are in need because actually not too couple of hours ago, my daughter had called me. She is a probation officer, and she had told me this past weekend about a fellow coworker wife that is on drugs, left him with two small kids, age 5 and 4. He did not know how he was going to be able to provide for his kids. My daughter and another coworker gave him money today. I got on the phone, called my church member and say, hey, this family needs help. And my sister, them, they jumped on it. So that family, those two little small boys will have Christmas this year.
That's good.
So I know my church back in Statesboro, Georgia, does these sort of things, and I'm not even there to attend church because I'm in Virginia, but I still pay my tithe, and I know we do those sort of things. So for me to be able to call back home and say, "Hey, I got a family that needs help back home," and they jumped on it tonight and took care of that family.
That's definitely what's up. Go ahead, Miss Sum Sum. You had your hand up earlier.
No, I just wanted to point out two things that were very interesting that just happened not too long ago. So, not to get too deep, but I think for us as Black people, we have been um, really, really misled as far as the church has gone. Like if we're looking back through history, we, to me, have been robbed. I think if you go all the way in the back of time, you're still hiding certain things from us that they don't want to come out because we are supposed to follow what they want us to follow. I'm still very hopeful that, eventually over time, uh, things will be revealed that will give us, a little bit more clarity. And then the other thing that I wanted to say, which I thought was very funny, and it kind of gives me hope because I do believe that with all the evil that we are seeing in this world, there are still some good people in this world, and I'm still very hopeful. But for that gentleman to get up in front of Christy Nome and say the power of Christ compels you just took me all the way out. I could not believe it. I was like this is some sort of exorcism, trying to vanquish all the demons that are walking the earth. I mean, I looked beyond what he was saying. I was like, this. He really went all in and took that opportunity to say what he said. I just thought that was just crazy, but it was, you know, it was just wild. But I'm still very hopeful. Again, like with all the evil that we're seeing, even with our, the president and stuff like that, where there is still good people. So we just have to, stay hopeful, and keep moving forward and try to be good and live right.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. We should try to live right, but a lot of us run into the issue of trying to feed our families and do right. And in these economic times, sometimes that's a lot harder. That's a lot easier said than done. So I agree with you. I'm not going to say that you're wrong. However, I'm saying that we're having a different way of thinking because of the situation that we got put in. We were just coming out the mess dealing with COVID. Now we're back into some mess where healthcare is gonna triple and quadruple for some people in some areas of the country. The people that voted for them are going to be hurt the most because they're going to close those rural hospitals before they close the big city ones. and their plan is don't get sick, and don't get, if you get sick, die quick, or else you're gonna lose money. Now, um, with the issue with the American Healthcare Act, was that, the American Care Act, was that a perfect solution to what was going on? No, it was not. But it was better than what we were going through. People, a lot of people needed relief from these corporations with the hospital bills. And can somebody explain to me, how can a profitable company still qualify for corporate welfare through subsidies? Anybody. And people don't have and people that voted for the president don't have a problem with that. But let somebody broke need some money, and then they talk about personal responsibility. Anybody?
It's hypocritical that there ain't an answer to that. People, I attribute what's going on to a big cult, and folks are drinking the Kool-Aid no matter what this guy does. And he said when he ran the first time, hey, I can go down to Times Square, shoot somebody, and they're still gonna
They're
vote.
still gonna vote for him.
They're still gonna vote.
And he told me he didn't care. He said he didn't care about. He said, I got your vote. I don't care.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. And everybody who says anything against him, they're the enemy of the state, and he's sicking Pam Bundy and Kathy Hill to go investigate him. I mean, we've never heard stuff like this. And imagine if President Obama had even thought about doing some of this stuff. Some good old boys would have been at the White House with hanging news ready to put the White House in hang.
You mean like you mean like
Double standard.
you mean like January 6th, 2021?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm telling you, if they had gotten their hands on Mike Pence, he would have been dangling off of a noose that they had. Nancy Pelosi, any of those people, if some good old boys had got their hands on them, they would have been dangling from a rope.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
But they were tourists though, according to people. They were tourists. They didn't do anything. They didn't do anything. They didn't do anything wrong.
I know. Yeah. And I got some swamp land down in Alcatraz Island I want to sell.
But that's crazy. So I want to ask you, Big Al. You're a classy gentleman. Like I said, I've known you over a decade. How do we get class back into the position of president? And then I'm ask the ladies afterwards.
I think the only way to do that is to clean house. Now, something 47 said, which is the only thing he's ever said that made sense, was imposing term limits. And I think the only way to do that would be first term limits. If the POTUS can only serve two 4-year terms, everybody in the House, the Senate, and the Supreme Court ought to have those same rules and that they must follow.
Right.
And all of the things would be them voting for it, because I think what has happened is the rot and the decay with people like Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham and some of these other guys who've been in the Congress for years and years. Uh, they just want to hold on for as long as they can. But if there were term limits, I think there will be more boldness and more openness to speaking up, because you know you ain't gonna be able to run again once embolds 47 to do things. So I think term limits is the first thing. And then once we have the midterm, hopefully there'll be a clear majority in both the House and the Senate where we can start doing things to pull back some of that power that 47 thinks that he has. And those are the first steps. And then getting somebody with integrity in the White House and staffing your staff with people of integrity, not people who are just loyal to you, who will lie, steal, and cheat and do anything to help you to be successful.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that. So saying that, saying that, how long do you think a senator should serve? How many terms?
I think 8 years max. You do a 4 year term, you are eligible to run again as an incumbent. If you win at the end of that 4 years, you're not eligible to run again. So 8 years, both in the House and Senate, should be the max. And I would say 8 years, not more than 10 years for the Supreme Court. If you're elected, you get a max of 10 years, then you're out of there.
Okay, that's interesting. Miss Kim, same question to you. How do we get class back into the White House? Miss Kim, Miss Sum, you there? Hello, anybody? Like they fell asleep on me. I guess I'm super boring, but I'm going to talk to the
No,
rest.
you're not. No, far from boring. I couldn't get to my phone fast enough. Oh gosh, how do you bring class back into the White House?
Yes.
First of all, you gotta have you gotta be qualified for the job. Number one, you got to be qualified. You got to look and carry yourself a certain way. You have to know the subject matter at hand. These are people's lives that you are dealing with. This is the public. You are a public servant. If you do not have the qualifications to get up and take care of people and business, then you have no business being in there, period. It's an
Mm.
embarrassment. You are a representation of black, white, green, blue, yellow, everything in the United States of America. And if you cannot represent everyone, then you should not be there. There is no one higher above another. And when you come off and make it seem like that, you're making us look like a laughing stock.
Well,
So
he doesn't
that's
think
we
so.
have exactly. And another thing is you cannot be delusional. Can't get up there and think my way or the highway. That's not how this works. I don't know who sat this man down and went over everything and the things he's supposed to do and breathe. I don't know who he got around him, a bunch of yes men that, nobody's holding him accountable, nobody's putting him in check. He's just, this is what I said, calling people piggy, people coming on. I mean, it's just one thing after another. It is an embarrassment.
Well, I
Some people
mean,
just look at that as just, go ahead.
I was saying you got to say is that that's why one of the reasons why the people voted for him. It wasn't they didn't care about class, they cared about crass because he says what he says what they're afraid of him, afraid they're afraid to say without repercussions because he could say it without without repercussions.
Yeah, but he's not building a united front.
He doesn't
Since he's
care.
been in there, it's been a bunch of separation. This is not the United States of America. It's not.
Well, you have a point. You definitely have a point. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that, in reality, in reality, we do have a point. We do have a issue with him. People wanted the nonsense. They wanted the mess. Now, if you were in charge, how much how long should people serve in the Congress, Congress or the Senate?
Oh God. I don't know. That's a little difficult. I think there should be a definitely like a how people get on you get hired and you're on probation.
Mm-hmm.
I think there should be a definitely a probational period to see if you are holding up your end of the bargain
Right.
as far as who the people put you there. So are you serving the community to the best of your ability? Are you knowledgeable? Do you have the certain criteria to represent what we are looking for in that type of a person? So I think it should be a probational period. As far as how they do that and the years, I'm not sure. I can't. I would have to think a little bit more on that. But with any position, I think there should be just like with Obama. He was in there. He did his 4 years, and people loved him. You know what I mean? They really not all people. I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of people really they thought he was a little long winded. But when I saw him get up there, this man knew every subject that was presented in front of him. He looked like he studied. He didn't, he wasn't stumbling over any words. He was very clear and precise. There was, when he left the podium, there was no like, what did he mean or what did he say? It's like he was straight to the point. Everything was clear. And so, just someone with knowledge of that position, someone who I don't know. I just, it's tough, but a probational period would definitely be great.
Yeah, that's yeah. So, um, for those people that don't know, Congress people Congress people serve for 2 years at 2 years term indefinite, and senators serve 6 year terms indefinite. Big Al suggested um, that each of those houses get a 4 year term and no more than two 4 year terms, and that would help cut a lot of the dark money out of the dark money out of the out of politics. Now, we got one of my co-hosts came on, the lady that's sweet as Snapple, Miss Apple. What's going on, Miss Apple?
Hey everybody. I agree. I think it should stay at 2 years because you could get your feet in the door at a year and then start making changes the second year, and then I don't think they should be able to do more than 2 terms. But I think 4 years is a little bit long, and 6 years is definitely too long.
Yeah,
I think
no.
if it keeps turning, um, get new ideas and new people, fresh thinkers and not the old school, way of thinking. That because once people get used to the old school way of thinking, that's all they want to that's all they want to see.
Right.
And even though I'm a Gen Xer, a lot of these Gen Zers and millennials, they have a lot of good ideas, you know. and the boomers need to be pushed out. No offense to anybody that may be a boomer.
Yeah, I'll leave that one. I'll leave that one alone. But yeah, so one of the things that we have to realize also is with how we are how we are set up and how things have been run since the beginning of the country. Um, time limits have never really been respected, with the exception of the president. Term limits are effective to a certain point. However, the biggest issue is not always who's in office, but who gets put in office. And if you really wanted to screw a country over, you put in somebody who ain't never did the job, who ain't never did any type of job like that before, and you call them a business person, saying let's run the country like a company. Well, that's exactly what the president is running the company like countries like one of his companies. And overall, how many of those companies are still existing today, with the exception of the real estate company that he's still trying to kill. So he's doing his thing, and he's doing exactly what he said he was going to do, run it like his companies. Go ahead, Big Al.
All of them went bankrupt too. I really like my son's comment about a probationary period. I never thought about that, but I think that's a novel idea. I mean, you would go through a 1, 2 year probationary period because you find a lot of people have lied on their credentials, like that guy out of New York. I don't remember,
George
but
Santos.
Santos, yeah, that's him, who had all types of lies in his resume. He was doing all kinds of undercover stuff, and in a probationary position, you would have found that out, and you would have gotten rid of that guy. So I like the probationary period, and I just think we as a people are going to have to get back to a morality, and especially us black folks, where it takes a village to raise a child. I mean, we've gotten too much into the me, myself, and I mentality. I got mine, you get yours. And I think there's going to have to be a reversal in our thinking to that old mentality where each one teach one, each one
Right.
reach one. Uh, and it's going to take that revolutionary change in mindset and thinking to get us back to where we need to be.
Oh, I agree. I agree. But that's the thing, is that, and I think since the end of 2024, I really think that we've been doing that right now. And when we're, we talked about last week how the how we're resting, especially with other groups that are expecting us to step in and be crash test dummies, and we're not. So we are consolidating as foundational Black Americans.
Right.
Not to say we won't help people, but we're not going to help people who ain't helping us. The days of
And
us just crashing out is way over.
that's what they're waiting for us to crash out. Spread the
Exactly.
rotten love.
Exactly. So with that being said, and how things are going, we just have to continue to be patient, and knowing that that train is never late for us to come. When they try to come get at us, that train never seems to be late. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
But that's what, we don't always do that, but we always say stuff that, we're always in their on their minds. We're always in their minds, and I hate to say this, but we also seems to be in their hearts. Um, Apple, we were talking about how to bring class back to the White House. How would you do that?
I think I agree with some. We first have to get it in there.
Yeah. So
You gotta get the classes president out of the White House and his administration because they have no class. That's what they used to say on Fat Albert. No class.
like like summer school, no class.
Like summer school, right? um, we have to get someone, and you mentioned that maybe another career politician in there, not someone that's going to run the country like it's a business and run it in the ground. People who have some kind of morality. Not saying that that's a common thing with these politicians, but at least they baked it a little bit better than what the current administration is doing.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, I don't know. Obama was the perfect example of class in the White House, and I'm not just saying that because actually, when he first started, I wasn't a big fan. I know that's not a popular opinion. I wasn't a big fan of his, but as he showed and they actually let him work, I saw the way he handled situations, his policies. I didn't agree with all of them, but I know that he had a lot of roadblocks, and he handled all of that with class.
Oh yeah.
And we need someone like that again to bring back the pride to be an American. It's embarrassing now. Because of from his first term, we was going downhill,
Right.
and by the time that Biden came, and Biden had to clean up the mess, so he looked like a joke. And then we got this clown back in office, and now we're the laughing stock of the world. We have to get someone back in there to bring dignity back into that office to the presidency because we have no dignity. That whole administration, you have a whole bunch of television personalities and people that don't know what they're doing. They just want the title and don't know what to do with it. Like the head of the FBI,
Right.
he wasn't even a part of the FBI. How did he become the head of it? Things like that. And with the Kennedy, he's not even a medical professional. So how is he ahead of? It's ridiculous. He got all his friends. They all ex-drug addicts and criminals, and but our government has become, our country.
Right.
A whole bunch of criminals and want to be superstars, and nobody cares about the country. Nobody cares about. It's just ridiculous. I don't know. I don't. I wish we would get somebody back into the White House, into the administration that will bring the class back to it because
Well,
this is ridiculous.
maybe this had to happen, though, y'all. I keep saying that. Maybe this had to happen because we not the only criminals. We don't have 3 or 4 baby mamas. We ain't, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Labels is, you know what I'm saying? All of that is out the window. That's done. It's a wrap. So I don't want to hear nothing about, you know, broken homes and this and that and all of that stuff. That's a wrap. And hiring somebody that don't know what they're doing at the job. All of that is out the window now, forever and for always.
It's true. That is true. So with that, I'm gonna wrap up the show tonight. I want to appreciate everybody who came on and put in. I got kicked off TikTok. I guess I was talking too much about that guy. I want to thank everybody who's on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, also also say it. Oh, Oh, people are clowning. It's all good though. But like I said, we have who we have, and we just do what we need to do to get through this. But also, one thing we have to do is continue to be ourselves, rest, and make sure that your people, the people that you love and can be around, gets paid, get to what they need to be. And what I want to say is, Apple, you got anything before we go?
No, I came in a little late because I was in a late meeting. And I don't know. Like I say every week, just everybody keep your head on a swivel and mind your own black business because they want us out there. They want us to act a donkey, and we just have to, look out for ourselves. And I hate to say that because that's not the type of person I am, but they made this mess, and we gotta let them clean it up.
So
Thank you.
I want to appreciate Big Al, Miss Kim, Miss Sum for being part of the family. I want to thank everybody who came on, and I'm going to close it out what I usually do. Never make love by the garden gate, though love is blind and neighbors ain't. Y'all be good.
About it. And that's how it starts. Your brain fires. Bro, only the top 20% of men are getting the top 80% of women. Regular dudes don't stand a chance. Going for and having sex aren't the same thing. If 44% of men have fathered a child, that means 44% of men had sex. Reality beats internet math. I gave ChatGPT access to all of my posts that where I did like think pieces on, and I allowed ChatGPT to go through the comments so I can gauge what the responses were from the men in regards to what I was saying. A lot of guys didn't read or they didn't listen to what I was actually saying. They started putting in their own narratives and thoughts and opinions on certain things. So we're going to address that. So instead of just screenshotting the comments, luckily we have ChatGPT and you can just put all that stuff in there and they'll deduce what everybody the common narrative was on certain topics. And it's absolutely amazing. But I wanted to explain these things further because I don't think a lot of guys want solutions. I mean, I understand that you may think the dating market is a certain way based off of what you hear women say on social media. And granted, I told you guys when I show these types of women that are doing crazy stuff, it's supposed to give you guys a heads up as to what to look out for, what to avoid. And I think we do a good job of that. But what we don't do a good job of is explaining that what is going on in the real world statistically. If it has something to do with dating, if I can get that on it, if I can have statistics to present to you guys, then I'm going to do that. 80% of women going to the top 20% of men is false. You guys are saying men only get leftovers from the top 20%. This is one of the most self-defeating beliefs in the manosphere. Here's reality. 44% of men have fathered at least one child. That means almost half of men have had sexual access. So the idea that only 20% of men are getting anything is mathematically false. What men are actually expressing is, I don't like the women who want me. That is a preference issue, not a systemic one. So if you believe the women who choose you are leftovers, the problem is not the women, it's the lens you're using. I did not know that that was such a hang up among men. You guys, and I want you to understand what I'm saying here. When you say women are going for the top 20%, does that mean women are getting the top 20%? Be very vocal in the chat. Is that the same thing? If women are vying for the top 20%, I'll give you that. But are all of those women getting the top 20%? That's not the same thing as sexual access. What I'm talking about is the statistics. The statistics show that about 44% of men had at least one child. To have a kid, you got to sneak in, right? So if we have 100 men, and I'm telling you, 44 of those men have children. They had to have sex to have children. So that means the top 20% aren't the only men that are getting sexual access. Now, separate the sex from how you feel about the women that are in your dating pool. If you as a man, if you feel that the rest of what y'all say, 80% of women,
just finish.
The rest of the women that aren't access to 20% of men, if they are considered leftovers, there's nothing I can do for you. Because that's your thought process.
Okay.
I'm not going to argue with that. What I don't understand is why are y'all arguing with statistics? And the ultimate goal is that you want to have sex. And I'm telling you, at some point, 44% of y'all will have sex. Then that's the bottom line for me, not for you, because you think that those women are the leftover women. Is that fair? That's what I'm saying.
Is it what?
So you're saying no, man? The 80 to 20% rule or the 80-20 rule is true because those women are going.
What do you mean up to 3,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you know that they had sex with the 20% men when she comes to you? But if you think that that's a leftover woman, it's nothing. I can't convince you otherwise. Is that your reason to remove yourself from the dating market because women are going for the top 20%?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that's what happened. I didn't make anything. I just I tried calling you, but you were busy in school.
You know the guys that say, man, I love plus size women. He's like, man, look, you get that man that says that he loves plus size women. You put $10 million in his pocket. Let's see if he loads his Lamborghini up with plus size women.
Yeah.
Let's see if he keeps that standard of
It started at 24. Then when I put in the room, it went up to 26. And then when I went to punch out, it was like 3 over 3. I was like, nah, I'm not getting that.
Because they have children with them. But on the balance of probabilities, based on what I can remember from the CDC fertility statistics, the average for women, it's around 45% of women overall who haven't had a child yet. Which would mean that about 55% of women have had at least one child. So when we talk about the black community, I always talk about that because 61% of black women have birthed at least one child.
I just downloaded my
39% of black women
my stuff from the show.
That's only about a 5% difference. Okay? But if you extrapolate that out to all
women, and just working on some editing. Talked about class and the.
Okay, so it kind of averages out. You're saying that those 20% of men are having all the children with the women who are left over. So when they come to you guys, not you, I'm not sure if you fall into the category, but I'm just gonna say you guys. When she gets to you, she already has a bucket room.
Okay.
It's fair to say that in the black community because we know that there's a 15%.
I know because I was busy doing stuff.
The gap between black women, you guys don't have children, so it's very tough. Okay, so I'm understanding what you're saying, but it may be a 1-to-1 ratio if you actually get out of the dating market and not disqualify yourself before you
I'm about to hit this bathroom. Be safe.
So I get that.
I'm gonna that was in the grill. Yeah, I'm gonna look again. Okay.
If the narrative is that women only want the 20% of men, then that means that a lot of men are disqualified.
I don't know if it. No, I don't know. I didn't. Yeah, because when I went to check out, it went from, like I said, it went from 2,600 to 3,000.
But getting is a completely different thing, and also getting out there unscathed in the form of children when they get to the rest of the guys who don't meet the 20% requirements. Okay, but that's not my point. My point, which is 44%, leave it at that. Okay, so I get what all the guys are saying. They may not be going after us; they're going to 20%. But are they getting those guys? And what are they getting those guys for? Are they having sex with those guys and then coming back to you? And they don't have children? Because yes, you're going to shoot for the stars as a woman because everybody on social media is telling women that they're a 10. So they're going to test that theory. Okay, they're going to try and deal with one of these high profile men, and if he on a humbug or something like that, and he sees this woman who thinks she's a 10 but she's not, he sneak in with her and then send her back off into the 80% picking mark. But at that point, how would you know? You would have to bet that woman to see if she was ran through. And that's why we did some of the videos where I'm saying, man, she got all these stories about dealing with these types of guys, and they tell you something. Okay, so when you're the man who women aren't checking for, that lets you know you're bad. What women though? Like what are you talking about? All women, Joe? Like all women are checking for you, or just the women that you want? If that's the case, then that shouldn't be viewed as a problem with the women. That should be viewed as a problem with you or where you stand. Remember, dating market is unforgiving. So if you're saying you're not getting the women that you want, then that would be a you problem, not a dating market problem. It works both ways. So just like men have preferences, and you slide a woman, you see a woman talking on social media that's low up to weight. Remember the bigger woman that was telling the older guy, you want to talk to black women in the grocery store? Pay for a grocery. Maybe that black woman was so cheap if you pay for her groceries. Instead of a hi, if you said hey, can I go to your groceries? I think you're a really beautiful woman and I'd like to make your day better. And she was acting as if she can garner that from a man. It's funny to me. It's definitely funny. But she thinks that she's that caliber woman where a man will just pay for your groceries. Some women, believe it or not, some women are that attractive to where dudes will just run up to them and pay for shit. It happens. Okay? It happens. This was brought up. Sexlessness is rising, so the 80-20 rule must be real. So sexlessness has increased. But here's the context, guys. The NSFG reports sexlessness among 22 to 34-year-old men. Not all men. It's strongly correlated with lower social skills, poor mental health, reduced dating effort, and technology replacing real interactions. This is not women only choosing top 20%. This is men opting out, withdrawing, or struggling socially. A societal trend across races. men were in that 22 to 34 category. Only 24% of men in that 22 to 34 age group report sexlessness. So 76% of men within the 22 to 34 category, they are having sex. But the reason why people are in an uproar is because from 2015, it increased by 15%. So even though that is a huge jump, there's still 76 of men 22 to 34 sneaking in. So is that better odds for you guys, for the men that mentioned sexlessness? Fair? I'm gonna let you hold on. Let's let this marinate. Go ahead and check it out and see if I'm tripping or not. So we concerned over 24% of those men. I mean, hey, I'm gonna let that one cook a little bit. Let's see here. Let's bring this one. Start here. All right. So we good on the sexlessness? Sexlessness tribe or whatever? Yeah. Okay. No questions. All right. So yeah. So it's not. It wasn't applied to all men. That's not getting sex. Okay. 24% of men ages 22 to 34, and it's not even. That sexlessness is not because they're going out to the dating market and they're trying to date and women are saying no. It's just men who are opting out. Are socially awkward, so they stay away. It's a lot of people that say that. No, what else? Okay, the 20% dating app statistic is being misunderstood. One commenter asked, is it true only 20% of men get chosen on dating apps? They think this stat is driving the entire narrative, but might be represented. So, and this is actually a good one because I've seen guys say, nah, me and Amanda, okay, Cupid, they're, top 80%, 20% rule. And I told you guys, depending on how much stock we put into that. However, if a woman is only choosing, and you guys can answer this question. If you guys are saying that the 80-20 rule is true because only 20% of men on dating apps are being chosen by 80% of women, what does that chosen mean to you? Does that mean that it disqualifies the 44% of men that are able to have children? And this is like, historically, about 40 to 45% of men have ever procreated. Because the majority of men won't ever have a child. So that's just, done right there. But does that debunk the 44% of men who have had a child? Who have fathered a child? No? So when you say going or choosing 20% of men, what does that mean to you? Okay. All right. John Doe Webdo said, like you said, the market decides. If there's an influx of black women calling black men undesirable, can we blame them for throwing in the towel? Yeah, like I said, if that's your opinion, cool. Especially in the black community, 46% of black men have fathered a child. So at some point, 46 out of 100 men have had sex. The biggest issue is men are mad that those women may have chosen the top 20% first, got ran through, and this is a hypothetical, they all got ran through, and then, you go back to, hey, I used to like you in the past or whatever, after they get done running, through the dudes. And this is not me refuting or trying to dismiss that. That actually happens. I got gang videos about this. But when it's boiled down to men saying they want sexual access, and I'm telling you, in the black community, 46% of black men have had sexual access at some point because they had children, then that would refute the 80-20 of men. Only 20% of men are getting sex. It's different if you say 80% of women are going for the 20%. That doesn't mean they're staying or having sex or getting access to those men. They may have. That's a high likely possibility. But somebody's accepting some of these quote unquote leftover women because some of y'all are having children with those leftover women. To the tune of, in the black community, 46%. Okay? Your 44% statistic fatherhood doesn't relate to modern dating. They believe that number spans all ages, not current markets. Dating dynamics for men 18 to 35 are different from the general population. So the way that and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I guess they're saying the men between 18 to 35 aren't getting sexual access, and the men above 35 are getting more sexual access, maybe because they have more money. Is that fair to say? I think it's BS. I know for a fact that there are a lot of young men that are having way more sex than older men because y'all got more energy to be running around out here. That just shows you that 22 to 34 age group, only 24% of those men are sexless, even though it is a jump of 15% from 2009. There's still 76% of men in that actual age group, which kind of mirrors 18 to 35. So I would refute that and say that men between 18 to 35 are having more sex than men above those age groups. Because where do you think most of the most of the STIs and STDs come from? That age group. Okay? So what are we doing here? So somebody's thinking, and this is not even boiling down to college. My God. Hey, there's a lot going on out here.
Bill and Mark Aguirre get in a fight in Portland, and Bill and Bill realize you don't want to fight Mark Aguirre. Let me just tell anybody else out there, you don't want to fight drawers from Chicago. And Mark is a real boxer, and Bill realizes. And as Bill is backing up like, oh, yo, I stop and turn around and walk the other way, and I'm laughing, right? I'm like, yeah, get him, right? And this is the craziest thing. When I was on Best Damn Sports Show, they showed me the video of me not getting in the way, turn around and walking. You wasn't supposed to see that.
Do they film all the practices? Is that a
Yeah.
Okay.
They film all the practices to see who is not doing what they supposed to do.
Gotcha.
Right. What we supposed. That film's not supposed to make it to the public. So when I saw Draymond, and this was a trip, I know he didn't think Draymond was going to swing. When I watched pool, I watched it, but since then, I tell everybody, if somebody's approaching you with anger, put up your guard. Make sure you keep this left right here. You know, if you throwing rights, keep this left right here. Bill and Mark Aguirre get in a fight in Portland, and Bill and Beer realize you don't want to fight Mark Aguirre. Let me just tell anybody else out there, you don't want to fight draws from Chicago. And Mark is a real boxer, and Bill realizes it. And
Oh my god, that's crazy. It's a camera that connects to a mobile app and uses colored lights so you can see which.
Hollywood loves heroes who look like they live in men's salons and wear designer clothes. Then they wonder why those movies don't connect with regular people anymore, or they scrub a script so clean they wouldn't fit a potato. Then ask why they can't recreate the rough human magic of First Blood. In this video, I'm going to lay out the small miracles that added up to make First Blood one of the defining successes of its time. First Blood spent almost a decade in development hell and was turned down by a long list of A-listers. Even Sylvester Stallone didn't think it would get made, and when he finally was, he briefly wanted the footage burned so no one would ever see it. So the first miracle is that between those two extremes, he rolled up his sleeves and didn't work. Stallone helped rewrite the script and steer John Rambo toward a more sympathetic, wounded character. Plenty of people want Rambo dead at the end. Stallone didn't. They even reshot the ending after the original version played poorly in test screenings. Stallone fought for that ending, and he was right. First Blood still feels present tense. America isn't a stranger to unwelcome people, and in the late 70s and early 80s, those people happen to be Vietnam veterans with PTSD. Rambo lands up in Hope, Washington, and to his misfortune runs into Sheriff Teasel. You don't wear that flag or that jacket, you're asking for trouble around here, friend. And why did he say that? Here's my interpretation. Teasel sees a stereotype, a drifter who doesn't belong. In Teasel's mind, a proper veteran looks tight, has a job, and knows his place, not wandering with a double. David Morrow's novel hints that Teasel is a Korean war vet whose service was eclipsed by the loud story of Vietnam. He reads Rambo as a disgrace to the uniform and decides the uniform itself is a challenge to his authority. Teasel goes out of his way with words and with force to put Rambo in his place. That's part of why the hate in First Blood landed so many people. Stallone gives one of his best performances. Sadly, that hate vanished in the second film, which my VHS rental guy produced as Second Blood. They did exactly what the studios wanted. Better hair, more explosions, a happy ending. It also made twice the money. The next miracle on First Blood was the producing team. First Blood changed the game for independent cinema. Before the 1980s, independent films were small and cheap. Maria Kassar and Andrew Avagnon popularized a financing method called pre-sales. They sold distribution rights territory by territory before production. This model allowed the producers to raise the entire budget for the film from these international sales rather than relying on a single studio. Stallone was already a global star with Rocky 1 and 2, with Rocky 3 hitting the same year as First Blood. Casting him made the movie an easy sell overseas, where he was and continues to be a huge star. In short, First Blood proved an independent company who sidestepped the traditional studio model, leveraged star power and the global market, and compete head-to-head with the majors. That approach reshaped the indie business and opened the door for big, star-driven projects financed outside the studio system. They also got Stallone to take a pay cut. He asked for $3.5 million. They negotiated him down to $2 million. Even so, the production ran over its $11 million budget by about $4 million, thanks to extra scenes. The first cut ran over 3 hours and didn't work. Then they cut it down to a tight 90 minutes, and the film snapped into focus. First Blood became the template for how modern action should be edited. The next miracle was the director, Ted Kosher, who refused to turn Rambo into a cartoon. He didn't flinch from violence. The set was intense. At one point, Stallone even lunged at him and had to be restrained. The stunts feel painfully real, and injuries happened. You can see how uncompromising the vision was in shot after shot. But what matters most is that Kosher doesn't sneer at the cops or turn the veteran into a plaster saint. Everyone feels human and grounded. Another miracle is the rewritten, reshot ending. After all that action, he finally talks. He empties his pockets in front of the only person who understands the currency. There's no pause line written for a trailer. It's a man telling the truth in a room that is quiet enough to hold it. He just wants everything to end. The movie ends. Star power. I also love the setting. The story is set in Hope, Washington, a fictitious town, but it was shot in Hope, British Columbia, in Canada. The town looks like a place you pass on the way to somewhere else. The woods are beautiful but unfriendly. Every direction you look at looks the same, which the crew had to consider so they didn't get lost or choose. The policemen wore white hats so they could read against the dense forest. Part of the look is nostalgia, which brings me to the cinematography. Film stock pulls out the nuance in color, especially the greens and grays of the Pacific Northwest. Director of photography Andrew Laszlo serves the story without showboating. My favorite image is a pulsing light of the police car across Stallone's face, like getting slapped again and again. Those flashes echo the quick fragments or flashbacks about his, a visual cue for what he did to me. I also love how the film is edited, where it's all just about Rambo and his pain. It isn't an action movie anymore. If you make films, there's a simple lesson here: like what the moment needs and let the rest fall away. Just watch the sequels, live like a TV movie. I think something most modern crews have forgotten is the patience to wait for weather or the humility to accept it. They forget to keep looking for ideas when things get hard. Stallone kept pitching new ideas all the time. That's why so many images feel discovered rather than staged. The world tells the camera what to do, the camera gets out of the way. The action works because real stuntmen did difficult physical things. A body falling through branches was awkward because that's how bodies fall. You don't see little splinters flying into lens. Yes, they pushed too far sometimes, and they went overboard in a few places. Threaded through all of this is a Rambo theme. Jerry Goldsmith
Okay, that's nice.
carries sorrow
That's
and emotion
nice.
at the same time.
It's a little
The music is
big,
written
but
to be
yeah,
heard.
that's
It never
nice.
orders you to cheer. Soon after First Blood 2, the Rambo cartoon. The Duke is part of my childhood too. The most
Okay.
important miracle is the casting
Okay.
and the choices those actors made. Hardly anyone in the final lineup was a first or second
Okay.
choice. You can call it luck, but it feels like fate. Brian Dennehy's Diesel is my
Happy
favorite
New
character.
Year.
You get him the second he appears. He doesn't need a monologue. I also love that he isn't killed in the end. I would have heard less. Richard Crenna stepped in for
$20.
2 sequels and his own action figure. The film doesn't give him much to do. They might have ended things early. Picture how the
I know, exactly. That's why I said that. You probably paid like $7.
First Blood sticks because the tools are ordinary and the choices are exact. Rope, knife, flashlight,
Bye.
radio, the more specific the object, the more it feels like something you've actually helped. Maybe not the least way. I don't think First Blood is special because of nostalgia. It stands out because of discipline. The movie respects the process. In 1989, it became the first feature used in police training in the United States as an example of what not.
Okay.
When people say Hollywood can't make films like this anymore, and I'm one of them, it's not a talent problem. It's that a lot of craft has been sidelined or forgotten. There's no shortage of talent. Cameras and software aren't the issue. Either people have changed or the system rewards different habits. The hard edges that make the story stick would be sanded down one by one until nothing sharp remained. Sadly, you can see that exact thing happen in First Blood Part 2. It was my entry point as a kid. I loved it then, and it still works as a typical action movie. In fact, I thought I combined both movies into one video, but couldn't, and I'm quite capable. I've been doing it for 10 years.
No, talk about the class and the president.
I feel connected to the world of the film because it feels real. If filmmakers can hold on to that truth, their work will follow people out of the theater and stay with them for years. First Blood proves the films we
No,
remember
I'll see it tomorrow.
Everyone's been looking for the magic formula for 100 years. They keep failing because they won't look in the mirror and be honest. If you enjoyed this video, snap that like button.
I'll see it tomorrow.
And to calm yourself, watch my film, A Count of 10 on Amazon Prime, Tubi, or CPIX.
Like I said, I'll see it tomorrow.
If you're looking to learn how to trade, a community is very
Yeah, I
important.
know.
I've joined previous communities and
All right. Go get something to eat. I'll talk to you tomorrow. All right.
myself. I want to dive into it. You said Geechee was used as a derogatory term for real? Who? What it was used by whites or blacks? There was a movie where the officer was talking down on the brother because he was on. Respect. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I get what you're saying now. Yeah. They did talk down on Geechee, and they did look at them in a derogatory fashions, especially because of the Gullah Geechee language, which is been recognized as an official dialect, an official language, or official Creole language, as a matter of fact. Said Dr. Lorenzo Dow Turner. Thank you, Dr. Lorenzo Dow Turner, DFG Newt. Thank you. Said matter of fact, Immortal Technique used to clip from that movie. I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. But yeah, like I'm not going to act like I'm an expert on Gullah Geechee culture and history and things. Like I said, I want to learn a lot more, but I was inspired by the Saturday Live to go further into Black American culture and learn more about Gullah Geechee culture. This would be the door opening in to get more into Black American culture. You said your great grandmother's first cousin was Dr. Lorenzo Dow Turner. That's what's up. Well, he did a great job. Great job. Says, uh, thank God it's over. Said black and white equal colonize the language equal rootless. Gotcha. So yeah, man, Gullah Geechee culture is one of the many Black American cultural expressions that we have. It's one of the oldest Black American cultural expressions that we have. The lady in the video said it was the oldest. I can't take that to the bank, so I will say it's one of the oldest Black American cultures and cultural expressions that we have in America. Just to educate, not necessarily trying to prove a point, but educate, make sure that our youth know that we're more than what they see on TV now. We're looking at Black people not in the best light, but also they do like to show the worst of us. Once again, on this channel, I like to make sure that I can show the best of us. We're going to talk about everything, but I want to show more of the best of us. So that's why most Wednesdays, not every Wednesday, sometimes I can't get to it. Most Wednesdays I put out my information. Matter of fact, I have a video on the Gullah Geechee culture. Matter of fact, I'm gonna run my video real quick on the Gullah Geechee culture that I put together not too long ago, because I got the spirit to talk about Gullah Geechee culture, so I did. He says Daughters of the Dust is a wonderful movie about the Gullah Geechee. I've heard about Daughters of the Dust, but I haven't seen it. I got to watch it. Daughters of the Dust. I have heard about that movie. It says our main task is social cohesion, understanding why it's important to focus on where we agree and what we like about each other, and to ignore everything else. Yes, sir. Brian Jefferson, you are correct, my brother. And I give myself 2 claps for reading your name right, because I would definitely mess your name. But, so let me find my video. I just remember that I did a video on Gullah Geechee culture not too long ago. Here we go. Let me get this together. Then I'm gonna run this, and then it's a school night, so can't be on here too long, but we here. So turn this music down a little bit. Get this together. So I'm gonna run this video. Y'all tell me what y'all think. This is my video that I put together a couple weeks ago on Gullah Geechee culture. Along the shimmering coastline of the southeastern United States, from the sandy shores of North Carolina down through South Carolina, Georgia, and into northern Florida, lives a people whose culture is one of the most distinct and enduring African legacies in America. They are the Gullah Geechee, the descendants of enslaved Africans who transformed isolation into preservation and oppression into a living testimony of African resilience. When European enslavers first arrived
on the Carolina and Georgia coast during the 16 and 1700s. They sought fertile land for rice, indigo, and cotton, crops that demanded intense labor and skill. To meet this demand, enslavers specifically imported Africans from the rice coast of West Africa, present-day Sierra Leone, Liberia, Senegal, and Gambia, where people cultivated rice for centuries. These Africans brought with them not only their agricultural experience, but their languages, spiritual practices, and community structures. Because of the region's swamps, mosquitoes, and deadly heat, white plantation owners often avoided living on the isolated coastal islands and lowlands, leaving the Africans to manage the plantations largely on their own. This isolation, both geographic and social, allowed the enslaved people to preserve their African traditions to a degree unmatched anywhere else in America. Over time, they blended African, English, and Creole influences to form a new cultural identity. Gullah in South Carolina and Georgia, and Geechee in northern Florida and parts of Georgia. Their language, known as Gullah or Geechee, is one of the most unique linguistic creations in the Americas. It is a Creole language born from the merging of English with African languages such as Mende, Ba, Wolof, and Yoruba. The language carried African rhythms, sentence structures, and proverbs, a living bridge between the old world and the new. To this day, Gullah remains a vital part of the community's identity and oral tradition that connects generations. The foodways of Gullah Geechee are equally rich and rooted in African heritage. Dishes like red rice, okra soup, gumbo, shrimp and grits, and hop and john trace their origins directly to West African cuisines. The same ingredients, rice, okra, sesame, and seafood, that sustained their ancestors across the Atlantic became the foundation of what would later influence Southern and African American cooking as a whole. Every dish tells a story of survival, creativity, and remembrance. After emancipation, many Gullah Geechee families remained on the Sea Islands, places like St. Helena, Sapelo, Dafuski, and Hilton Head, building self-sufficient, close-knit communities. For generations, they farmed, fished, and lived off the land and sea, maintaining cultural independence. Their isolation continued to protect their traditions long after slavery ended. But as the 20th century unfolded, the Gullah Geechee homeland came under attack, not from plantations this time, but from developers and government policies. The very isolation that preserved their culture also left them vulnerable. Because many Gullah Geechee people held their land through heirs property, they became easy targets for outside buyers, tax schemes, and eminent domain. From the 1950s onward, the Sea Islands became coveted tourist destinations. Developers began to buy up massive amounts of land and build resorts, golf courses,